going on? People want to come in, they can come in.
I'm Commissioner Do Right for y'all that don't know.
All right, sit down.
Everybody goes do right.
Sit down, lady, sit
Yeah,
down.
Commissioner. See how I like to learn.
All right. A couple of things I want to touch on first so that everybody here is informed around the table. Because we're hearing a whole lot of things about Montefiore Hospital closing down and all those things. So I just want to briefly address it a little bit so people can understand here as commissioners. So if you're approached with the questions or any concerns, you have the proper information. Okay, well, Montefiore is going to be moving. They're going to be transitioning onto Sanford Boulevard. I've been speaking to Montefiore. I had another meeting with Montefiore yesterday at their facility in the Bronx. And several times we've met about this. It's just a transition into a different type of care system because the way medicine is going today, people don't stay in the hospital overnight that much anymore. So what they're doing is they're setting up a different model for the city of Mount Vernon, and the model looks very good. So we're going to have a forum on it with Montefiore and many of the other partners in play with some of the folks from the state as well next week. So this way we can make sure that the public understands it, brings all their questions and concerns out into the community so that everybody knows fully exactly what's going on. So what you're hearing about them shutting down, they're not shutting down. This transition is a transition over 18 months. So this hospital is not closing down right away. It's going to be 18 months before the next facility on Sanford Boulevard is set up. And I see that they are about to pump $60 million into it. And there's got state funds and a lot of other things going on. So this is just not a small thing. They're opening up a facility that's state-of-the-art here in Mount Vernon. It'll be just a different type of facility, but it's going to have all of the things that the hospital has now and even more. So I know on the this was the okay. So yes, all right. So they're gonna be investing in a lot of the stuff in the city and the infrastructure of it to make sure that it's done properly. But they are pumping a lot of money, and the state is pumping a lot of money into making this work. So the model that we saw in the Bronx, you know, we took a tour yesterday. Again, I was there, also some folks from the governor's office. And, you know, this is something that they're moving forward with because the current condition of how the hospital is and how it's working today is not working for today. You know, and that's all they're looking at because people are not staying overnight. They have a whole lot of beds there, I believe 121, but at no given time is there more than 20 beds being used. So the services in the city, people have been going other places and other hospitals outside the city. So they're losing about $25 million a year. So this new model is to flip it over, turn it around, and make Mount Vernon have all of the amenities that all the other cities have as well. We're not going to be delivering babies in that facility, so I don't want nobody to misunderstand and say, hey, you know. But when we have the public forum, we'll talk about the history of Mount Vernon Hospital because it's already been, all of the service has been sucked out to anything that works, been sucked out to another community anyway and transferred someplace else. So at this time, we're gonna just hold tight. You got a briefing. There's a press release that came out that was released this morning from Montefiore. I even have quotes in there regarding yesterday in the meetings. And we'll do the forum so that we can make sure that the whole entire community is informed. So right now, I would refrain from saying anything outside of this room, even though we're being broadcast, until you have you know, full information on what's going on. And we have that. The Maris will give you that when this meeting's over, so all of you are well versed on what's going on. All right.
They offered anybody who wants to tour the facility.
Yes, and anybody that does want to tour the facility. I saw the architectural drawings, but you can tour one of the facilities in the Bronx, and you can see exactly what they're doing. So it's open there for all the commissioners to go and take a look at it, so you could be well versed if people start to ask you questions. Because right now, everybody's running around yelling that the hospital's gonna close down, it's closing down. Well, it's not closing down, it's just gonna be transitioned to Sanford Boulevard, and then we are going to see what they're gonna do with the hospital over here to be repurposed. But they'll have it on Sanford Boulevard. And it's not gonna happen for 18 months. Yes, and the nursing school.
Well, the nursing school is going to be absorbed, be part of the Einstein Medical Teaching College. So they expect that the nursing school will also be an improved and better nursing school than anything we've ever had or that Westchester has had, because they're now joining their teaching school.
Right, and with Einstein. All right, so I know we got a lot of things to go through. So anyone, matter of fact, we're gonna start with Greg, because I heard everybody got all their stuff in, and we're gonna be finalizing and crunching down budgets to make sure that Gary, to make sure.
I thought we moved past that, what happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
You just look like a Greg I went to school with. All right, Gary.
Nice comeback. Yeah, so all the budgets submissions are in. Thank you very much. I'll be sitting with the mayor hopefully this week. We'll go through it. Yeah, I appreciate everybody's feedback. I know there's a lot of submissions to make up for a lot of lost time. We're doing our absolute best to try and fit as much of the asks in, but please understand from a realistic perspective that not everybody's going to get what they want. It's just not, there's not enough money in the till to do that. So we'll go through it this week and then meet with the comptroller and then kind of move forward from there. If anybody has not noticed, it's Cybersecurity Month.
Yep.
So there should be emails going out on things you can do personally, professionally, protect yourself. It coincides nicely with the email I keep hearing everybody getting around doing nefarious things on your computers. So it's all bunk. Thankfully, there's no links or attachments. So if anybody in the department does get an email related to, you know, malware or saying that they've compromised your account, they have not. We're working on putting some new controls in place to stop those emails from coming through. We've also engaged with New York State Cyber Incident Response Team. They'll be coming in probably next spring to do a risk assessment on our infrastructure, kind of help us figure out what we know, what we don't know. And then there's some grant money actually tied to that, so the report will help us kind of position ourselves for that. I also have legislation going through that's making its way through the pipeline to reallocate funds within my existing budget that we found now that we've gotten some bills paid. That will help us finish the rollout of Office 365, so any of your departments that don't have it to date, you will hopefully have it by the end of the year. We'll have additional controls in place that will stop some of these emails, and then we'll actually be launching a new IT service desk to help my team better manage all of the requests. So we've been getting a lot more, which is great, that means things are happening, but my guys are kind of getting overloaded at the moment. So we're gonna have to try and tighten down the process a little bit, so please bear with us. And then last but not least, I just got off a call with T-Mobile, so the fun one. We will be launching a new employee discount program through T-Mobile, so Holly, I'll get you that pack. You're getting us a promo code, so you and your family will get additional discounts on top of whatever you have if you're a T-Mobile customer as well. I believe Commissioner Harris, you're working on it with Verizon.
For Verizon
AT&T,
also,
so we'll
AT&T.
look the package, all that stuff up, do some fun stuff with there. So it's a really good plan. It's going to save me, I think, $12 a month. Somebody on my team saving like $50, so it's good stuff.
See that? And who said employees don't get benefits? Go ahead. Everybody wants to work here.
There we go.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we made some other changes also in positions so that we know what's going on, the latest update. Our new Commissioner of Planning would like to say a few words about moving from recreation to planning to make sure that we start to get things rolling. And a little bit about how his team work up there is going to benefit the city of Mount Vernon. There you go, Commissioner Moyle.
Thank you for that introduction.
I'm practicing.
So I am officially in planning. So I have a series of meetings that are set up this week with the area heads to kind of find out where they are, what the projects they have. There's a lot of planning stuff going on, as well as the urban development, urban renewal stuff that is happening up there, and grants. And so there's several different areas. I mean, I know we've been hearing a lot about URA and URA only, but there's so much more that also is happening up in planning, right? Which is the grants administration piece of it, which actually has tentacles in many of your departments, and trying to make sure that the grants are administered right, as well as that we are seeking out what grants are there. The reality of it is that it is a very small operation for grants that really needs to be much more robust, that it will be able to help the entire city to really obtain the monies that are out there, federal, state, and private monies, and can't do it with one person. So we're going to have that conversation. We're having that conversation this week with Steve. In addition to planning, we have one planner in a city of 70,000+ people, and a lot of projects, a lot of possibility. That is woefully inadequate. It also means that there's a lot of money that's left on the table that we're not getting because we just don't have the infrastructure to support it, and poor William is getting pulled in all sorts of different directions. And so we're going to have that kind of discussion. This all has happened for me to understand all of this in a matter of 7 days. In addition to that, we also have our continuum of care, which we are working with the comptroller and the county to ensure that we continue to be are compliant with our continuum of care program. In fact, we have a series of meetings that are coming up about that. The good news is that I did meet with the comptroller on Friday. I did go through approximately about $500,000 worth of vouchers. She received them, she took them, so now I'm waiting for the wire transfers for the money so we can at least start to spend out. And that's some of the money that some of our constituents have been waiting for, such as our reentry program, the Razorbacks, the continuum of care projects, and other things that were in there. So that's what's happening. As it pertains to URA, yes, we are continuously moving to improve URA. The good news is that despite what we've been hearing, the actual books for 16, 17, and 18 have been closed. I mean, of course, with any closure of books, there may be some other adjustments that may need to be made, but the books are closed. In fact, today, as we speak right now, the auditors from O'Connor Davies are upstairs meeting with our financial team to begin the audit for 16. And so all of that is progress. Moving forward, we are going to make sure that there's transparency in what is happening in the planning and community development department. And we'll continue to work on the outstanding grants right now that we were about to lose, but we are saving. And those include the brownfield grant, which we have to have a conversation about reconvening that group to make sure we move forward. The DEC grant, the Holland Zombie Homes grant. We are right now, this week, end of this week, the deadline for the City Rise proposal is coming upon us, and so we're going to submit that. So I think in a nutshell, that's it. I'm sure there'll be much more later on, but great fun.
Well, we're all counting on you and the city of Mount Vernon. Just like we are counting on Commissioner Spruill. Oh boy. Because he has done some amazing things in the water department. I saw the report, I read your report. It was put together well. I'm excited because I feel comfortable that a person of integrity is down there handling things the way it's supposed to be handled.
Doing the best we can.
And I feel very grateful to you on the behalf of the city, just to even have you on this team, which was a great thing. And I'm still happy that you said yes. Even though you knew what mess I was throwing you into.
Yeah.
But you did well on adjusting. Do you want to speak a little bit about that and let everybody know what's going on in the water department?
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great team. This is about day number 18 and 19. I'm counting days. And it's been very interesting. The water department is moving forward aggressively. And there are a lot of internal management changes that need to be made, especially around accounting policy and checks and balances. And we've been very aggressive in that area. Spent a lot of time looking forward and not looking backwards, so I'm not doing any investigative kind of work. More than I am trying to fix things moving forward. The staff down there is great. There are some things that have not taken place since 2016 that should have, in terms of accounts receivable management and making sure that the city gets its just due with regard to billing and water. So we're aggressively fixing that, but we've got a pretty good handle on the infrastructure at this time. And staff development, training, pre-employment drug testing, a lot of things like that have been put in place. Also defense driving classes for those that drive the commercial vehicles. So there's a lot of work to do, but we've made a lot of progress in 3 weeks or so. We should have a budget complete by the end of the month for 2020 in terms of understanding where all that goes. We're working very aggressively with the controller to understand, for her to understand the excess process and how that's particularly determined. But she's cooperating very nicely, and we changed the benefits from the city of Mount Vernon to the water department, and we're managing that as well. So things are going well. I don't see any red flags or fires to worry about, but the staff is acclimating well, and I'm proud of all of them.
All right, thank you. And just so everybody know, the new addition to the team is Damaris, how you name Monet, who is taking over as the assistant to the mayor, and Carrie Mobley is now in recreation as the deputy commissioner. So for everybody who don't know who Damaris is, now you know, raise your hand. So tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. So thank you for inviting me to the team. I've been a Mount Vernon resident for 17 years. I formerly worked in the state senate before joining on board. I worked for the state senate for about 10 years. I'm mother of two. Not sure what else y'all want to know, but you could always stop by my office and have a conversation with me. So, but I actually would like to know everybody's name, because I know some of you, and I've worked with some of you over the years. But then a lot of you, I don't know who you are. Holly Francis, Commissioner of Human Resources.
Sean Harris, the police department.
Caleb, we're police department.
Deputy Burrell Butler, Executive Director of the Youth Bureau.
Kristen Vanderberg Reed, Director of the Veteran Service Agency.
I'm Stephanie Vanderpool, the Assessor for the City of Mount Vernon.
I'm Mark Etter, the DPW Commissioner.
Sylvia Bowler, Deputy Commissioner of Planning.
Me, one question.
Gary Rossi, Management Services.
Greg.
Greg. Or Steve.
Wait, did you say Gary and then they corrected you to say Greg? Now I'm confused.
It's Gary, what's your name?
Until he starts talking.
Well, he called him Steve.
Okay.
Commissioner
Martin. Commissioner Sproul.
Sylvia Gadsden.
Commissioner Sylvia Gadsden.
Lauren Mason. No, not again. Lauren Mason, Corporation Counsel.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Kendra Dolman, Building Department.
Hi, Kendra.
Okay.
Yes, we
I
met the
met
other
you
day.
last week,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Carrie,
Deborah Norman, Deputy Fire
how you doing, Deborah?
Marlon Molina, Deputy Commissioner of Planning.
Hi, Marla.
Francis Johnson, Deputy Commissioner, Assessor's Office.
Hi.
Hannah Alabama, Director of Parking Ticket Collections across the street.
Okay.
Philip Fountain, Director of Emergency Management.
Okay.
Martin Bush, Deputy Commissioner of DPW.
Okay. All right, well, great.
So we have it. All right, so as we're going around the table, anybody else who's next? Anyone have any
I'll go.
changes in their department, things that's happening?
I have a lot happening.
You always do.
Right. Story of my life. Good afternoon, all. Okay, so I tried to give everyone a flyer. I don't know if everyone was able to get them, but Recreation does have a lot happening. So the main thing we have this weekend, we have two events. You have your pumpkin carving, which is happening in the Armory from 12 to 4, and then we have the Music, Arts, and Culture Fest. Now, the Music, Arts, and Culture Fest, I'm just going to go to that one because that's major. So based on some of the dialogue I just had with the police commissioner, I'm actually going to amend my referral letter so that we can do everything that the police commissioner is suggesting. So I will take care of that as soon as I leave here. But the Music, Arts, and Culture Fest is actually going to be just that. It is, we have the trio Sage, in addition to Rob Wright, the jazz musicianist. We're gonna have a Rapicon segment where we will be honoring Sha Rock. She will be given a proclamation on behalf of the mayor in the city of Mount Vernon. We also have...
Tell her who she is. The
Sha
first
Rock?
female
Right.
rapper in the business.
Right.
All right.
So it's kind of like the ladies' first edition, so we'll be doing that at this event as well. We have 30 vendors signed up, in addition to 150 cars that will be a part of the classic car show that we'll be having on that day. There will be a steel pan band as well, and some African dancing. So like I said, it's going to be an actual culture fest. And it is only from 2 to 6. The sun is setting at 6:38, I believe, and I want us to be over by that time. And so, again, as soon as I leave here, I will do just as the police commissioner has suggested. So back to the pumpkin carving. You know, when we have our pumpkin fest next week, this is where the children who participate in the pumpkin carving will come out and look for their pumpkins. So we will have the hayrides, DPW, we're gonna need you again. The hayride is free, the fest is free, as well as the haunted attraction. Now, I don't know if you all want to have our pumpkin carving wars as we did last year. Police department likes to show off and come out with carving kits. So if you're interested in showing off, you can do so at the Armory from 12 to 4. Then once all we have the children do is carve everything, leave it there. We have a few activities for them to participate in as well. They can do candy corn bowling in the Armory, as well as make some scarecrows, because this is my thing. I love this. And then they come and they look for it at the Pumpkin Fest. So during the Pumpkin Fest, we have carnival rides there as well, the haunted house attraction. This is a 2-day event, which makes it a little different from the pumpkin carving. So it's all fun, it'll be safe. Then you have trunk or treat.
Yay.
Something the mayor wants us to do, because we don't have enough to do in recreation. So everybody.
People are not excited. Now, let me just say one thing about trunk or treat. It's important that we do have these kind of trunk or treats because this will allow our individuals to go on the Fifth Avenue parking lot where it's a safe environment with the police, and we know, I think even DMX is putting a car out there full of candy. So everybody's gonna be able to go around the parking lot and get their candy so that the kids can have plenty of candy, and we can also monitor their safety at the same time. So it's a wonderful thing. I believe Grace is having something too on one of those. Not Grace, Centennial's having one over also. But it's good to make sure that we keep our kids safe. So I'm excited. I'm gonna dress up my car and I'm gonna be out there as well. We got some classic car people. It's gonna be it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Excitement.
Stop talking. And then, so that's another little friendly competition. So if you want to, recreation is going to have at least 4 vehicles out there. So if you, I know that's a little competition for you all, but if you want to try to, if you want to try and outdo us, I welcome it, right? Because again, it's all about the children.
Veterans, that's a hint.
Right, because veterans, this is partly your fault, right? So if you want to come out and participate or compete as far as trunk or treat goes, I welcome it because again, it is a safe environment for our children, as the mayor has stated. And then I'm looking into how to create the vehicle, which will probably be mine, that is all inclusive, so that if the child can't have candy or anything like that, they will still be able to trick or treat. And there we are, including everyone. So again, woohoo! May I please change my seat? I can't sit next to her for the rest of the day.
What happened?
Put it in, it just says trunk. It's not talking about the size.
Oh, okay, I see SUVs. I didn't know when you had that on. That was.
Let me hold the car. Just give me the budget.
Okay.
I'll decorate it.
Just coming with the king.
All right, so if there are any questions or you want to participate, collaborate, I am here. This is gonna be a busy 2 weeks.
All right.
You're welcome.
Did anybody hear him?
Right. He may be in planning, but he's still planning all around City Hall.
That's right.
So
That's
we gotta
right.
give him credit because he's got his hands into everything.
And he's the commissioner of everything, but his heart is in recreation.
Exactly.
My heart belongs to recreation. That's a song.
You going through the lights on after school rally?
Oh, that would be me.
Oh, you. All right.
We got something going on too. All right, so nationally, on the 24th, on the last Thursday of October every year nationally, it's recognized as Lights On After School. And so what it is really agencies, companies, business, school, wherever, that keeps their door open and their lights on for kids after school ended. And so if you know anything about the Youth Bureau, including recreation, our partner in crime, we have a plethora amount of programs that are in the schools, and pretty much is after 3 o'clock. In partnership with the rec, we're like from 3 to 8. I know the Strong program, we're in school from 3 to 6, or Safe Haven, 3 to 5, various programs. So it's an invite to the entire community. White Cop, Boys and Girls Club, just to come out and showcase. The media will be there to let them see what we're doing in Mount Vernon, and that we're protecting and giving a helping hand just to the community and the family, that we have somewhere safe for our kids after school hours. So it's a big to-hoot. Each year we have at least minimum 200 people out there. City officials normally here. We have guest speakers, we have giveaways, performances. It's a pretty fun day, and we have face painting outside, so it's open to all. You guys will get the invite. Consider this your invite in addition to an email that you will receive from Monica. And so we're asking, the Youth Bureau is asking for everyone to come out and spread in the joy and show your collaboration effort and all that the Youth Bureau does. In addition to that, today is the last day for after-school interviews. For the last 2 weeks, we've been doing interviews. 3 weeks. The process started in the second Monday in September, where we had application available for youth ages 14 to 21 in school for after-school jobs. There are still opportunities for commissioners. If you're looking to have a youth after school to work in your department, I know we have very confidential stuff, different departments. I'm fully aware of that. We have conversation with them, and we ask for the commissioners to have that conversation with them if you actually choose to have. I believe everyone in this room at some point had taken a youth, and for the most part, I want to say 95% of the time, it worked out really well. We're starting that process. Again, as I said, today's the last day of interview. They start working November 4th. So I know I met with Gary and Joe. They're taking a youth. And so I don't know if anyone else in this room is taking a youth, but it's open. Please reach out to myself.
I'll take it.
We're taking one.
Okay, great. Maybe going once, going twice. Anybody else?
Okay.
Well, wait, is this after hours though?
After hours, it's not like you go home on time anyway.
I would like to go home on time one day. One day.
I don't know, anybody around this table, I don't know if that's an option, but, they're from 3 to 5. So
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay.
One in the office.
Well, he's gonna need one because I gotta stop running into this guy in the middle of the night. You know?
You gotta stop coming out in the middle of the night. Let me take care of business.
Well, let me say this so people can know because the News 12 has done it again with their ad and negative thing, whatever's going on. But I was out, I don't know, close to 12 o'clock. I ran into this guy about 12 o'clock midnight. We were both in Hartley Park in the dark. But what happened is someone took all the plates off of the poles, the light poles in Hartley Park, pulled the wires out, and they called the news media and said that the city is irresponsible and we're trying to electrocute children.
Oh my God.
So that's the rumors that's going on. I'm not gonna say, I have an idea who and where it's coming from, but just know that we already went over there. He's in the middle of getting it plated if it's not already done and taken care of. But these are little things that are going on to make our city look like nonsense and take us back to the nonsense. You know what I mean? I don't want to go all into it, but we are on the right direction. We're moving the city forward, and there's going to be people that want to make it look like we're not doing what we're doing, and the city has to have some kind of chaos behind it. And they just can't believe that there's none. So if News 12 is coming out to do stories like that, I don't know what to tell you, but I'll be in the park at 12 midnight with this guy. It'll be innocent though, but we were out there working that night.
As long as I don't get any call.
We didn't even call you.
No, I'm talking about you two being in the park.
Amen. But you know what? You know what? I went to go check out the situation and see, but when I got there, he was on the other side of the park checking it out. So we were both out there working on it.
I'll tell you how bad it got. They called Channel 4 News and Channel 12 News. Channel 4 called Con Edison. Con Edison didn't want bad press, so they went into our park on our side of our meter and started messing around with the poles and called me at midnight on Sunday and said, if you don't come out here and shut the power down, we're going to shut the power down. I had to get somebody out to get in there and shut the breaker off so now there's no lights in the park. Okay, so we're in there trying to correct it. But the gentleman that pulled the wires out, now some of those handholds were missing, from before they were broken, that pulled those wires out is now harassing my workers in the park, so we need a little assistance with that.
Police help?
Yes, because on the news, you can see him clearly reaching in.
And he's walking around with tools.
And that handhold that you and I looked at by the basketball court?
Yes.
On Sunday, he had that off the pole in his hand, on the news.
What part was this?
Okay. But it's good to, and the funny thing about it, the news did not contact the city to find out exactly what's going on.
They said they weren't available.
Yeah, but I never got a call, nobody's gotten a call, the police didn't get a call, DPW didn't get a call. But I think that they should start, stop with the nonsense. Okay, who's next? Oh, I'm sorry, Debbie.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yep, I'm next. I want to thank you, and I was counting, I was counting too, I was, days that I have been here in terms of my transition into the Human Resources Department, but I want to thank you for getting a lot of your staff to the mandatory sexual harassment training. We are going to do it again. I don't have the date just yet, but I do want to, again, for those of you that didn't attend, we have to do our own session for lots of reasons, and because again the litigious nature of the world we're living in right now makes it pertinent that we do. And now that your staffs have been trained on several different modules as well as our own training, it just makes it even more kind of mandatory that we all sit down as a commissioner body, and even if you want to use part of this meeting to do it, we could do it. But again, I want to thank you for that for us to identify a vendor and then be able to turn it around and get the training done and then be able to complete it is fantastic. And I'll leave that. I think we'll talk about that a little bit more in terms of what that means on an ongoing annual basis, because it doesn't stop from now on. So now it's just, it goes on an annual basis. Again, with Greg Gary, we have identified funds to be able to make sure that we can afford trainers and to keep it fresh and to keep it lively so that it's not the same training every year. Because if I thought I was coming into the same training every year, I would probably lay down and want to shoot myself in the head. But we want to keep it as fresh as we can, keep it as relevant as we can, and as the laws and the case law kind of sets precedents, we'll have much more integrated conversation, be able to have robust dialogue about what's going on. Having said that, if you're noticing, well, I'm noticing, is that we're getting a lot of staff walking around and taping conversations. And so I want to put you on like a heightened alert as commissioners that I don't know what's going on other than post-traumatic stress from the prior administration, or I don't know. I'm not going to even try to put a pin in it. But there is this feeling that we are not responding to either employee needs, or there's just things going on and people just have lost, there's a lack of trust in leadership, but that comes even from the presidential all the way down. So I mean, for me, it's just like people are trying to protect themselves, I guess, in a way. And so I want you to be aware when you're having conversations that your staff or people who are in earshot are not using that as an opportunity to record the conversation without letting you know that the conversations are being recorded, because I can't really do anything after the fact, in a sense. But I did want to give you the heads up that these things are going on, and for as much as we're trying to deal with them as they happen, we're only as fast as again, then the phone lets us know, or the text message lets us know that it's happened. I try not to want to listen to them, because if we have to make a determination, I really can't be someone who's reviewing those tapes. So again, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and Laura can speak to it if she wants to, in terms of what our position can be when that happens, or how she would like you to behave before something else happens, because there's so many things that I just can't say while I'm trying to give you this information. So good.
The most important thing, it's a one-party state, which means that anyone can pick up the phone. If they are on the call with you, they can take a phone call just to follow up on what can happen. So that's basically it. Now, in terms of a third party outside taping, that might be a different issue. But the employees are doing this now. They will come in, and while you're talking to them, they will take conversation. That does happen.
Is it legal to take a conversation here in City Hall? Are we allowing our employees to record not phone conversations, face-to-face conversations in City Hall? Because it goes on quite often, and that's what gets you in trouble. Is when you're speaking to somebody and somebody's behind you, recording you. Why do we allow our employees to do that on city property?
I don't think I don't believe we allow employees to do that. However, as I indicated, it's a one-party state. So if they are on that call or tape, they can tape you. Before it used to be you'd have to have agreement among two. You don't have to have. I
realize New York's a one-party state, but that's for phone conversations.
Right. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about face-to-face interface.
And
that's the real issue here.
You can still be videotaped.
We still have, for many people that may not know, but other people should know, that we do have a social media policy.
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to be looking to enforce this social media policy going forward, because there's a lot of people that are taping each other and putting the nonsense up on social media, and the problem we have is one person's upset with another person and they're trying to destroy somebody else's character. That's not going to be tolerated under this administration. I'm letting you guys know. So don't put anything up on social media talking about anybody else that looks bad. Because if you're going to go ahead and try to destroy their character, I'm going to remove you before you can. You could do it from outside. Bottom line. Because we're not going to carry that on. And the gossip kills. And right now in City Hall, we still got it. We had the prior administrations and all, and that was a running thing that went wild. This is not gonna be the social media age of gossiping and just talking about each other. And plus, I'm gonna say to everybody, I don't wanna hear it. I don't wanna hear what Johnny did, or little Louie did, or this one did over there, or that's one saying over there. Keep it to yourselves, okay? Stop spreading other people's business. I don't wanna know who slept with who and who likes who either. It's not my business. I wanna know if our streets are clean, if crime is down, if the children are going to school and they're safe, if the crossing guards are doing a great job. That's what I want to know. If our budget is coming in low, because that's all I keep on asking Gary, Greg, Gary. But you know, those are the things we need to be talking about. Those are the things we need to focus on. All the other stuff is just a waste of our time, period. And if you got time to be sitting around talking about those things, then you're clearly telling me you ain't got enough work to do. So I'm going to find something else for you to do. Carry on.
I don't know, on a lighter note. I have to say that we are current, with the exception of the note that you got. So if you have RPCs that I'm going to hand deliver that where there are issues where the controller has asked for your presence, not mine, we are current. So we are in the month of October. We are no longer in April and in August and in September. You're former. You now are current. But we are current with RPCs, and we, at this moment, don't have to wait for the mayor to take them downstairs. So, with that being said, make sure you have all of your documentation submitted to HR, because I want to get out of the habit of presenting those. They don't necessarily need to go downstairs, but they need to come into the HR office. So salary changes, correct account codes for your budget, leave of absence, proper documentation being supplied behind the RPC. To give me an RPC that's not like a termination, without giving me a termination letter or a new hire letter or a resignation, it's going to get held up. So what we want to do is, and if you notice in terms of my office, we'll send a follow-up email to try to get that documentation from you so that we can continue to stay current, so that we don't have a lot of the issues that we had under the previous, my predecessor. Okay, I'm done.
Anyone else?
I have one thing. The Veterans Agency is working to renovate the memorial room. We hope to have it done in the next 2 weeks with the schedule permitting with DPW and the clerk's office. So we're asking that the water department has already committed to purchasing the paint. The assessor's office has committed to helping us with another purchase, but most of it is being funded by the Veterans Service Agency. We're asking that once we finalize the schedule with the clerk, that you refrain from having any scheduled meetings in there. Try to have them in your respective departments or in the committee room, if or if this room can be made available, to try to expedite how quickly we're done. The goal is to get it finished with the carpeting, the painting, and the technology that's being added into there, with having a grand opening so that we don't restrict use of the room. So when we do have the grand opening, you might notice that some of the cases are still empty. They will be partially filled, and that's in an effort to invite Mount Vernon's veterans to donate their own memorabilia. We're moving forward. David Abavea, as many of you know, is a very talented artist, and he's helped me a lot with the design. And we're looking forward to having the painters. We're actually doing wallpaper in there too, and then working with Gary to see what technology we can put in there. And also I need to speak with Gaylord and yourself about the auxiliary police budget to see if we can finance one more piece of equipment.
When did you expect the grand opening for this to be concluded?
To be honest, as soon as we can finalize the scheduling of the room, it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks for the painters to complete it. So as soon as it's complete, we want to have it reopened for use. We don't want to, I don't want to restrict use of it, and I don't want to have people start using it before we can like reveal it, you know, in a big reveal.
Well,
so hopefully not more than 2 weeks prior to Veterans Day.
So Kristen, what you can do is reschedule people and just check what the schedule availability of this room is, and then just shift them all down here and they can use this room so you can have that.
Okay, I'll let the clerk know that.
Okay.
Yep.
I just have one thing to say, only this, because I don't know how it affects our budget. So we have a proliferation, and it's even at an alarm level, of the prior administration's legal expenses. And I'm saying this because I don't want it to ever be perceived that the blame comes with this administration, so I sound the alarm. We have in one law firm over $800,000 that we owe from 16, 17, and 18. And from a budget perspective, I have no clue as to how that's just one law firm. Then the other law firms are $300,000, $400,000. I don't know the impact on any of our budgets if we have funds to pay it, but the lawsuits that are coming in terms of the bad acts of prior administration, we have about 8 to 10 cases that deal with bad acts. Not just a trip and falls, but bad acts under, and there are allegations, of course, they haven't been proven. But I want the budget individual, the gentleman here that's new, to understand what do we do with that. And how we have invoices with the controller from one law firm at $800,000, and we have no clue as to how we're going to pay it. And we have a lot more coming in.
So anything that's prior should be, the attempt should be to try and pay it this year, if possible, right? So that's really a conversation with the comptroller. To the extent that you're not going to get that done, then yeah, we obviously have to factor that in.
Well, we have to look at, and when I get a chance, we're gonna sit down, because I know where some things are. We're gonna have to figure out how to do it, because we're close to $2 million in legal fees that has to be addressed. I know your eyes is popping open, but we have about $41 million in lawsuits from the last administration that we gotta deal with. So all of them are not going to win. Some of them are overflated, some of them, but it is lawsuits that we have to deal with, and we have to fix it. And we are talking to a lot of them right now. I've made the offer of 10 cents on the dollar to many, and we're gonna figure it out. But we are gonna put ourselves in a position that we're gonna be able to fight and push back on a lot of these things. And just like she said, some of them we can't even get an insurance company to cover because it is bad acts and criminal behavior, mischief. So within our own city and our own departments. So that is a problem, and we're addressing that.
But that's actually you're talking about the settlements or the rulings, right? I think Lauren was in addition to that. Lauren was talking about the actual legal fees part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Which are invoiced now. That are part of now. And so the only way you're going to be able to kind of deal with that to make sure that it doesn't. So here's the thing. Listen, bills don't ever go away. They either you pay them or they roll downhill, right? And somebody at the end of the day is going to have to pay for it no matter what, right? So at this point, the only thing you can do with the bills that you have invoices for, if you have no means of paying for it, is to begin to look, and this is what the previous comptroller used to do, right? By now, today is October. By now, we would have already had one note from the comptroller stating that here is where we are in our budget. You need to now look at it, and you need to project what you are going to spend for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. And you also need to make sure you move money around in your budgets to cover whatever's over. And then you would get one again in December, early part of December, that said basically, here's where you are now. Again, you need to make any adjustments you need to make now and pay whatever bills you can pay now. So that's where you're going to be. You're going to be in a place where at some point you're going to have to, given the way that our current comptroller is operating, you're going to have to identify if there's any overages anywhere in the city's budget and transfer them to the law department for Lauren and them to pay those bills. Otherwise, here's what's going to happen to Lauren that happened to Mark and to me, right? The bills that are not paid, or well, it wasn't me, now Sylvia, right? The bills that were not paid, that were incurred in 18 were rolled into 19. And in 19, we started off with a deficit of money in certain lines, which is what's going on.
So could I amend my budget under outside contractors to 2 million, from 200 to 2 million?
No.
I'm just
Well,
kidding.
actually, Mayor, on that note, I have a contractor that's coming to me now where several buildings were demolished in 2017 that I know never went to the council, never went through the whole process. It's over $100,000 and they trying to get payment from me because the controller is telling them to see me, I have to write up legislation.
I'm having,
They never got permits, they never went to the city council to even get approval to knock down these buildings, but they are knocked down. Now they trying to bring me bills from 2017.
So let's get a list of that and talk about it with the law department, because these are things that were knocked down that we don't even know about, so we're finding out about. Anybody know about the knockdown of these buildings?
One.
I do, I got a bill.
2017.
But out of Second Avenue and 3.
Well, you wasn't here, so I'm asking anybody that was here know anything about the buildings that were knocked down?
Second Avenue is
Second
Avenue is the old Martin, I think it's Jeanette Martin's house.
Right.
Right, which is on the corner of
Second Avenue and 4th Street.
and 4th Street.
Yeah.
And there's
And that was taken
buildings on
down.
3rd Avenue as well. 213 and 213.
And who paid for, obviously, nobody paid for it.
But just out of curiosity, so the contractor without so any contractor could basically say, I knocked down the building, now you pay me? Like, how do we prove that that was that
Well,
contractor? You know what I mean?
No, there's a contract.
He has paperwork that was signed by Richard Thomas for the contract with him. But I know the procedure is, the building department declares an emergency demolition, it goes to the city council, they approve it.
Correct.
Gets knocked down, we go back to the.
No, it goes to the Board of Estimate and Contract.
Board of Estimate, then we also go back, once it's down, we have to say everything's been done according to the rules and regulations, and usually the money comes out of the general fund. But I'm not comfortable writing something that I had no part of in 2017.
Mr.
But
Mayor,
it has Richard Thomas's signature on it.
Mr. Mayor, to further muddy the water, I have about $800,000 in legal fees that were paid outside
Okay.
of the water department
Why
budget.
did you come here today?
You and Lauren should be outside the meeting.
We want to make it clear,
He gonna spring
not under this administration. This
He's
is
gonna
past.
spring on $800,000 of illegal bills spent out for somebody else's attorney on us right now. I would just go wrap up and say everything's good, but go ahead, Commissioner Spruill, go ahead.
That ain't even a leak.
No, we're just trying to plug it. I'm at about 800,000 in 18, 671 to be exact for 18. And we're in the middle of our audit now, of forcing them to complete this audit. They're actually doing an investigative audit. I'm not sure that's really what they should be doing. And that's why it's been taking so long to complete 17. So I'm pushing them to finish the audit by the end of the month. But I think we're about $800,000.
And the red paid for or no?
Paid.
Oh, you're lucky.
Paid. We just discovered another $50,000 that came up where the previous administrator refused to pay the lawyer for services that he had already rendered. But these were not water department expenditures. All right, they were actually expenses that were paid for the city of Mount Vernon. All right.
That might have to be discussed offline.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm in the commissioner's meeting. I thought
No.
Offline.
I understand that.
Yeah.
This
That
is
might have
going
to
all the
be.
way out,
Okay.
so this is
I
gonna,
forgot.
Yeah.
we can see this is gonna lead to more
Yeah.
criminal activity that
Yeah.
you do.
I don't know if it's going on or
Can I
not. Yeah.
add one thing about the memorial room renovation? So I did mention that the War Department is paying, and so is the Assessor's Office. The memorial room is used by every department.
Right.
So just to be clear, this is not any type of misallocation, is that every single department uses
Yes.
this
hold
for
on.
training and for, and it's the community part for this.
Okay, Commissioner, you don't have to explain that. We're talking about $800,000 versus
$400 in paint, but I want to be
versus
clear.
$80 worth of paint. That's two different things. Two different things. $800,000 in lawyer fees, $80 in paint. We ain't looking at you. All right, but we will get to the bottom of that missing money and find out where it went.
But you raise a good point, Gary, is that, oh, not Gary, I'm sorry, Commissioner Spruill, is that, no, actually, no. Commissioner Morton, when do we get budget versus actuals? I've never worked in an organization in my whole lifetime that I'm operating on a budget that is a year old, that 2 years later. So I just need to understand, where as commissioners do we put some accountability, and what can we do in order to enable us to move forward? Because for one side of the house, the 19 got approved, and then for the other side of the house, the 19 didn't get approved. So I don't understand how that works.
So the actuals are owned by the comptroller.
Right.
So that's her responsibility to provide them to you.
Right.
I can work on the budget,
Mhm.
but the actuals have to come from her, right? So the way it would normally work is once you go through the budget cycle and it goes through the channels and gets approved,
Mhm.
those budget numbers actually get loaded back